report has ended for the day, and I am so glad. Okay, first of all, my feet are killing me. Second of all, it was so interesting. Okay, so they had the Jane Doe witness come in, and she's someone who dated Diddy. She basically talked about these things they had called debauchery or hotel nights, which is actually the equivalent of freak-offs, okay? He just gave it different names. I don't know if he just gave it different names depending on what woman he was with. But so anyway, they were asking her questions about that, and everything that she was saying sounded so reminiscent of Cassie's testimony, okay? And basically she talked about meeting him. You know, they were in Miami. She met him. They went on a yacht. They had a good time. It was her and her girlfriends. When she went to the restroom, she ran into Diddy, and basically Diddy asked her for his number, or for her number, said they could exchange numbers so they could hook up or whatever. And so then there was another time she was at something they had at his house. It was a party, like a movie night. And so while they're watching the movie, another woman that Diddy was dating was also there, but he's texting her and asking her, you know, when can they hook up? I want to get to know you and all of this. So she said at the beginning of the relationship, he was really charming. He had this big personality, larger than life. I mean, isn't this all what Cassie said about Diddy when she first met him as well? So, long story short, hey everybody. Okay, so long story short, she basically talked about how she was all in love with him. She enjoyed spending time with him. They had such good times and all of this. He was very attentive to her. And then he started asking her to fantasize. She said when they would have relations, he would like to have corn with a P playing in the room. That's what turned him on. And it went from him wanting to watch corn while they had the relations to him telling her, you know, let's talk about some fantasy. Let's fantasize about things. And then so he started introducing her to illegal substances, specifically Molly, ecstasy. He would give her these things, and you know, before they would have relations. And in fact, the first time they had relations, he gave her some of it, and she said she was walking on the beach and she started feeling funny, and she started picking up the sand and throwing it, and then she just fell out or whatever. So after that, he started modifying how much he would give her. Rather than giving her like a whole thing of it, he would just give her like pieces of it, like break off pieces and give it to her, whatever. So anyway, he was basically giving her rugs with a D every time they hooked up, right before they would have relations. And then that, in my opinion, was the way he was manipulating her, grooming her to start having these freaky acts, adding other people into the mix. First, she thought that when they were talking about these things, that it was just something he was fantasizing about. Not that he was gonna really, at some point, actually want her to start doing these things. But that's exactly what it was all about. So it was just all so crazy. And you know, here's the thing. This is where the trafficking comes in, because she said the same thing as Cassie. She basically talked about how she was willing to do it at first, not that she wanted to. She didn't want to have relations with any other man besides him because she was in love with him. She felt like that was her man. She only wanted to be with him. But then she felt obligated to please him. She wanted to make him happy because, you know, she cared so much for him. So the first time they did it, she thought that was just going to be like the only time. Like they fulfilled the fantasy. That's the end of it. We're not going to do this again. But then every time she hooked up with him, this is what he always wanted to do. He always wanted to do it, okay? 13 and 14 hours, 30 hours, sometimes multiple people in one night. And remember that nasty story that Cassie told about how he would have the man, the escort, put the stuff on her, and then she had to put it on Diddy? It was the same thing. She said he would tell the guy to put it in her or put it on her, and then when the guy would be excused, then he would come and have her put it on him. Basically, they would have relations. Well, she didn't literally say he would tell her to put it on him, but they would have relations, and then the prosecutor asked her, did you wipe that stuff off? And she said no, and everybody was like, ew. So Diddy's just so nasty, honey. At the end of the day, he's just disgusting. Also, she said that he wanted her to do different things, like he wanted her to wear white, creamy nail polish. She would always make sure that her hair, her nails were done. He wanted her to wear lingerie. They would both pick it out sometimes. Sometimes she would pick it out, then he'd have to approve it. He wanted her to wear these really high stripper heels. That's why they found all those darn stripper heels in his closet, mind you. So the baby oil came back into the mix. Okay, she said that in one session, I want you all to pay attention because this is why they found over, hey, Queen Sheba. This is how they found all of those bottles of baby oil in his residence, because she said that in one session they might use at least 24 bottles of baby oil, because he would get so turned on. How you doing? He would get so turned on with her pouring the oil all over herself and pouring it all over the man, and then he's giving them instructions, basically just like Cassie said. It was the same scenario. This was a freak off. Instead of calling it a freak off, they called it hotel nights. Remember, they had the other thing they called Wild King nights. And she said that before they did it, okay, now I have to watch what I'm saying, because there's some little kids. There must be a little tour or whatever. Hi. So anyway, so basically, I'm just stalling right now because these little kids are like in elementary school. Literally, they're walking through here, their little orange t-shirts on. They're all so cute. But they're almost gone. Pay attention. Oh my goodness. Anyway, okay, they're gone now. So she was also saying that before, like the first time they had the hotel nights, his assistants came and they were setting up the hotel room, getting all the oil and stuff together, you know, the Astroglide, I'm sure. She didn't say anything about Astroglide, but she would say they would get the hotel together. They would put lights in there, like red lights. The prosecution asked her how she liked it, and she said, I liked it, you know. She said, she didn't say romantic. I forget what word she used, but she basically said she liked it because that's what he wanted. And she was really nervous the first time she did it. But she was also hyped up on illegal substances, mind you. She talked about the Molly and the ecstasy, making you feel really provocative and really horny and sexual and all of that stuff. So he would always make sure that she was given some of that. This is all a hot mess. I just want y'all to pay attention. Hold on for just a second. Let me get out my notes. So anyway, how's everybody doing? Honey, the diddler is a whole freak, okay? He's a whole freak. And then here's the thing. He was also basically holding it over her head, because she got to a point, even though she consented to this in the beginning to please him, because like I said, she felt obligated, there came a time when she didn't want to do it anymore. And every time she would bring this up to him and tell him that she didn't want to do it, she just wanted to be him and her 100%, she said he would just try to cut the conversation short. He would try to basically be dismissive, and he would say things like, well, you know, if you want to break up, we can go ahead and break up. But mind you, at this time, he was paying her rent, because she had asked him, or he told her he was going to give her an allowance. He asked her how much she felt she should get for an allowance, and she said $15K a month, a month. And he said, no, 10. So she moved into this place where she was living, and the rent was like $10,000, and he was paying it. So anytime she brings up the fact that she doesn't want to do this, he would say, well, we can just break up, but you're going to need about 3 months to take care of your rent, because I'm not going to be paying the rent. You know, he said you'll need about 3 months to be able to afford your rent, because I'm not going to be paying the rent for a woman that I'm not even with. Mind you, she's never saying she wanted to break up. She's just saying that she doesn't want to do this anymore. She doesn't want to keep sleeping with all these men. And sometimes, like I said, he was having her do this with more than one man in a night. And these sessions would last 15 to 30 hours. She was not allowed to sleep. And she said that she would start off, she would have on like a lingerie with a robe on and the stripper heels. And the guy would come through the door. She would greet him. She would be nice and sweet, friendly, start small talk, invite him on in. And then she'd sit there and, you know, she'd take off her robe and stuff and start dancing. And she said she'd start slow dancing just to get herself into it, to, you know, like get herself calm and everything. And then so her and the guy, they would just start touching on each other. And then they said, what was Sean doing? Because she kept calling him Sean, so the prosecution calls him Sean when they're asking the questions. And so they're like, what would Sean be doing at this time? And she said Sean would be sitting there watching and touching himself. Nasty old freak. Diddy needs to go down for the count, okay? I want y'all to pay attention. I want y'all. Abigail says, shake your dreads. He needs to go down for the count, okay? Please pay attention. Now, with that all been said, hold on. Let me get to some of these notes. So she's talking about how she got this new house and they needed furniture. And her and Sean had a conversation about, you know, her making her own money. Now, she wanted to do She said that she had considered herself like a content creator, but because she was so preoccupied with him and he took so much of her time, she really was falling off on her content creating because she wasn't posting anything. And she had talked to him about doing OnlyFans. She said that one of her friends had made like $4 million. But when she would talk to him, well, you know, he didn't want her to do it. Because if you're on OnlyFans making millions, you don't need his money and you don't need him paying your rent. And then if you decide you don't want to do the hotel nights, you can just walk. So he wanted to have control. Diddy is a control freak. Okay, he didn't want her doing anything on her own. She said that when he would just call her at the drop of a dime for her to run off somewhere with him so they can do whatever, he would always make sure that she had proper baby daycare and all of that stuff. And you know that there was someone to provide or whatever. And so she could just be whisked away. He wanted her nails painted white. He wanted her hair done. Her tan had to be straight and all of this. So anyway, they say, why did you feel that you needed his approval? And they're talking about, you know, when she was trying to do OnlyFans. They said, why did you feel that you needed his approval? She said, because he was my boyfriend. Now, on April the 4th of 2023, that's when she moved into the home and he paid the rent. He started paying the rent. They said, how much was the rent? It was $10K. Could you afford it without him? She said, no. How did you afford it? She said, between him and child support. And she also said that she told him when they first started talking, when they first, you know, exchanged numbers and started having these conversations on the phone, she told him that her ex, her child's father, was somebody that was close to him and that they didn't get along. So she says, hold on. Oh, and basically, I think they had like a contract because she said something about, he said there's going to be a contract or whatever, right? Yeah, they had a contract. Okay, so what trips did you and Sean have? What trips did you and Sean have at the hotel night? And how did this all get started? Okay, she said that he would pay for the travel, and of course he would take care of the child care. Okay, the suite was decorated. It had music playing. There was blankets. Okay, there was red lights. They always used baby oil. They had to have plenty of baby oil for the hotel nights, about 24 bottles. And then August the 31st of 2022. Now this is when they showed a text. They're into a series of texts for evidence. So they said, when you pull up, you have security. Oh, she told him when he pulled up to have security catch the bag and the keys. She said, because I have to throw it down. So he said, okay. He said, what's the address? He was coming over to see her, so he wanted the address. The hotel nights were usually followed the same exact pattern every single time. Okay, he'd tell her how he wanted to do it and what he wanted to see. Where did your lingerie and help come from? This is what they asked her. She said it came from SEX stores. She would pick it up and then he'd approve it. Okay, how did it begin? Greet the person, be nice and sweet, make small talk. And this is the escort that she's talking about. Then they'd undress. The escort would be in shorts. She's in a robe. She would have rugs with a D in her system. And then the first thing they do is grab that oil. After they got undressed, they'd immediately grab that oil because that's what he wanted to see. And he basically would sit there getting his freak on with himself and giving instructions, telling them what to do. She said he would be talking very positive and giving encouragement. I bet he was giving encouragement. Please pay attention. Okay? And he also wanted her to touch herself while she's doing this. And one of the main things he wanted her to do in the beginning is to go down. Okay? Wanted her to get on all fours for the escort. And she would have to do this for quite some time. Now, she said there was a point when he would tell her to do it, but then she just started doing it herself. The prosecution asked her, why would you just start doing it yourself? She said, because I wanted to speed up the process. They were like, why did you want to speed up the process? Well, that's because she wanted to hurry up and get it over with so she can just be with him by herself. This is so sad. At one point, she started crying. Like when they first started asking her about these hotel nights, And you know what happened, how the relationship changed after that? She was tearing up. She said that after the first time they did the hotel night, that she had realized that she opened a Pandora's box that she could not shut. She thought that was a one time. All of a sudden, every time she sees him, he wants these hotel nights. And she felt obligated, especially when he started talking about, well, you know, if you can't pay your rent, you know, you need to be trying to figure that out because I'm not going to pay the rent if we're not together. So she said he loved watching her pour that oil all over herself. He wanted her to do things to her body too. He wanted her to get piercings. Now, remember, Cassie said that she had a piercing too. And he wanted her to get a piercing. They said, what did he want you to pierce? She said her breast. Okay? She didn't say whether she did it or not, but she said he wanted her to do it. She said Sean would tell her, hold on. He would tell her to do the oral first, okay? And then she wanted to go ahead and arouse the man so she can get it over with. She said, so I could be with my partner. Would Sean say something? Yes, he'd say stuff to the guy like, yeah, you want to feel some of this? Is that what you want? You want to feel some of this? And then afterwards, after the guy dropped the sauce on her, then he was excused. Hey, Nicole, beloved, thank you for the super chat donation. Peace, love, and blessings. So then after he dropped the sauce on her, then Diddy would let him leave, and then now she has to come in there with the sauce on her, and her and Diddy do the do, and now he's got the sauce on him. So nasty. What kind of freak? Okay? So she said sometimes it was more than once, with more than one person in a night. And they asked her, did she get any sleep? She said no. So I see why they're charging his behind with trafficking. Okay, because that's exactly what this is. All right, this is exactly what it is. It's trafficking. You're sitting up here making this woman, now you're not physically forcing her like he did Cassie on some occasions, but at the end of the day, he manipulated her, and to me, he groomed these women, groomed them by being nice, by buying them things, taking them out on fancy trips, on yachts, private jets, giving them money, because she said he would give her money every now and then, and just to get them in good and all in love with him, thinking he's some charming Don Juan, only for him to turn around and now try to turn you into the freak of the week. All so crazy and clearly nefarious as far as I'm concerned. Okay? Oh, and here's the thing. She said that the first time she did it, it was a guy named Don. And they showed her a picture and she verified that was him. And she said she wanted him to use protection. And Diddy told her, oh no, these guys, they're very clean. They get tested all the time. They get tested all the time. They're some of the cleanest people. You don't have to worry about it. But she was still hesitant and reluctant. So he went and got her the protection for the guy. That was the first time. But after that, sounds like all the other times there was no protection because he wanted the sauce all over himself with his little nasty, freaky self. You know what this all reeks of? This reeks of Diddy being zesty and not wanting to come out and live his own life. So now he's using these women so he can see these men, watch these men, and then get the men's sauce all over his nasty self. This is all so gross, okay? This is all so gross. Sandra said, not the freak of the week. Yes, that's what he was trying to turn them into. Yes, Juju, sauce was everywhere. It's just so nasty. At the end of the day, listen, I know some people don't want to believe it, but they got Diddy. It's a wrap. Diddy should have taken the plea deal. He's going down for the count, okay? Because here's the thing. When they brought this person in and they said the same thing that Cassie said, I mean, almost verbatim, literally almost the same accurate descriptions, the same way he wined and dined, spent money, all of this stuff was so nice, sweet, and charming. And then once he gets them to doing these freaky things, now he's a whole nother Diddy. Now the real him shows up. Now she didn't say anything about him putting hands on her, but keep in mind, she's not done testifying. But at the end of the day, it's all the same thing. And this is exactly what he was doing, okay? Roddy said, ask me. I know, right? So with that all being said, somebody said you're black. Yes, I am black. So what does that mean? I'm supposed to like Diddy because I'm black? I'm supposed to want Diddy to get off? I'm sorry. The people that Diddy did things to are black as well, many of them, okay? So Nicole said, Queen, you look beautiful. Keep shining. Thank you, beloved. I appreciate you. So listen, you guys, it is so hot out here. I'm going to run in a minute, but I'm going to go live tonight. Okay? Right, Durant said, why are trolls in here? I don't know, honey. But here's the thing. The bottom line is they've got Diddy on the extortion, the bribery, you know, the coercion, and the trafficking. Because they kept asking her, when she kept talking, she would say, he would tell me, he would do this. And they were saying, who is he? And she would say, Sean. So they're making sure they're putting that on the record, that he was coercing this woman into doing things. Not that he was physically forcing her, but if you make somebody feel obligated and pressured to do something because you're holding something over their head, that's still coercion. Okay? You don't have to twist my arm, but if you say, listen, you know you can't pay your own rent. You know you don't have a job. If you want me to keep paying that rent, you better get in here and do what I'm telling you. Or you don't even have to say it like that. You can say, well, you know, if you don't want to do these hotel nights, find somebody to pay your rent. It's still coercion, no matter how you slice it. And I feel sorry for these women, specifically her, because she had only been talking to him for maybe a few months when this all started, like 3 months. And then here he is, got her out here. She said she was all in love with him, and you could tell. You could tell, and she's sitting there crying and tearing up when they started asking her about the things that he was making her do. It's just all so sick. By the way, they had another expert testify today before the Jane Doe witness. They had an expert come in talking about the cell phone, how they extracted data from Cassie's cell phone or whatever, and how they were, you know, just getting certain information from her phone or whatever. That part was kind of boring. It was almost a snooze fest, but the rest of it was also juicy. Okay? So anyway, Diddy had all employment positions open, even a freak off consultant. You all are terrible. And he had his people setting all this stuff up. So is that the conspiracy? Here's the thing. I'm wondering who's testifying after this. Okay, y'all, I gotta go, honey. I'm about to pass out. It's too hot out here. Okay, please pay attention. With that all being said, I love you all to life. Okay, I will see you all later. I'm about to rush to the house. And y'all make sure you like and share. Until next time, beloveds, each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. Always remember to keep the Most High first in your lives.